Rugby World Rankings 2023, folks, for the 27th of Feb. How are things looking now that we are more than halfway through these Six Nations? The third round is now in the bag. Plus, in the background, the European Rugby Championship is also going on with the likes of Georgia and Portugal and Romania and Spain and co. So, we'll go through the rankings. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how fairly or not the teams are ranked and how they've changed since that last round. And, you guys can let us know your thoughts. Unsurprisingly, and looking deservedly number one, it's still Ireland, 91.33. If you've been paying attention, you'll know that number's the same as it was last time because Ireland have taken no points from Italy, despite the fact that Italy was at home. The gap between them and the Irish is still too big for the Irish to take any points, but they certainly didn't lose any points. So 91.33 still looking comfortably the number one side in the world in terms of world rankings. I mean, France aren't that far behind. They're on 89.47, which has slightly closed the gap on Ireland. They were on 89.38, but they did take a little bit of pointage off Scotland with their victory. The French, the kind of double red card game, that one. So number one and two in the world, that's pretty steady as she goes. Not a lot of changes to talk about. New Zealand, South Africa, obviously unchanged, with them not playing rugby at the moment, but nobody has managed to fall below them or managed to pass them just yet. Scotland is still there in fifth, but as I mentioned, they have gone down a little bit because France took some points off them, so 83.36 down to 83.26. Not a heck of a change, but it is a bit of a change nonetheless. England, their victory over Wales didn't see them gain enough points to pass the Scots, but the gap between the two sides is now pretty tight, 83.11. So there's a little bit of possibilities of teams kind of moving around that fifth and sixth area, but at the moment, nobody from this area of the board is looking like getting near New Zealand and South Africa. The gap is just a bit too big to gain in a week or two. Australia, Argentina, those guys are unchanged in 7th and 8th. Respectively, but where there is a change is on the other side of the board, and Japan, without having to lift a finger, have managed to surpass Wales to go into 9th spot. Wales in 10th. It's not a new low because they've been there before, I think 2007, maybe 2013 or something. There's been a couple of times when Wales have been the 10th ranked side in the world, but that is genuinely the lowest they've ever been. So it's an equal low for Gatland's boys at the moment. So down from 77.73 to 76.88. Yeah, the Welsh boys, with that loss at home, have lost some points. So, yeah, it's not looking great. It's not looking great on the world rankings. There was a long time when Wales were floating around 8th, and it wasn't that long ago that Wales were the first in the world. So things do change over time. Samoa, no change with them, but the Georgians, since our last look at the world rankings, although it was a couple of weeks ago during the Six Nations Fallow Week that the Georgians passed the Italians, with the Italians thus winless so far in the Six Nations, and the Georgians going 3 from 3 in that European Rugby Championship. The Georgians have passed the Italians, so they're into 12th. Italy's down. Although, I mean, if Italy was to play Georgia right now, would you back the Italians? Probably would. Although it was just last year that the Georgians beat the Italians. So, I don't know. It's a good place for rugby where we're having that kind of conversation where Italy can cause Ireland problems, albeit they still lost, and then Georgia can beat Italy just a year before. Not even a year. So, happy days for the rankings. Fiji, Tonga, and Portugal. I'm sorry, Portugal, I don't have your magnet set up yet. I swear I've printed it. It's been lying around my house somewhere, just waiting for you guys to jump onto the whiteboard, and you've finally done it, and I don't have it available. My apologies. I will get that sorted before the next world rankings. So Portugal's playing Spain in a semi-final of the European Rugby Championship this weekend. So if you beat Spain, you'll stay on my whiteboard. But if you lose, it's going to be Spain back here. So we will see. Portugal, I'm sorry I've missed you out, but we'll get there. We'll get there in the end. Past the board, you do have Spain just below them. Uruguay as well. Other World Cup teams like Chile and Namibia and whatnot are still down the rankings a wee bit. But yeah, that's how things are looking thus far. Georgia is also playing Romania in the semi-finals this weekend of that European Rugby Championship, if you're going to watch that, in the absence of the Six Nations. In terms of the Six Nations for a fortnight's time, Italy taking on Wales. That's probably the battle of the wooden spoon. Italy could go up all the way to 10th if they manage to get a win, because you look at the gap between them and Wales, it's not that much. There's a bunch of teams kind of clogged up in that 10, 11, 12, 13 area. And then Wales, yeah, they could drop to 11th if they lose. They could go back up to 9th if they win. So, yeah, lots to play for in that game, but maybe not kind of for the right reasons. Scotland and Ireland, that one's going to be a big one as well. Scotland could drop to 6th if they lose, but they're not going to be able to catch South Africa by any means. It's still a long gap between those sides. But Ireland could lose the number 1 spot if they were to lose to Scotland and if France were to beat England. So it would kind of have to be a double whammy. But if it happened, France could go all that way up. But then again, France could also drop to 5th if they lose at Twickenham. So, yeah, England is pretty much just fighting it out with Scotland at this point for that 5th spot. But they'll kind of have to wait and see how things go. So there you go, folks. Those are the world rankings. Let us know how fair or not you think they are. Who would win in a match between Italy and Georgia right now? Obviously, there's a lot of people, talking up the Italians based on their Six Nations performances. But as I mentioned, the Georgians are 3 from 3 in their games against lower-ranked opposition. So the only way we know is to get more of those games. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts. There's a Patreon page for 2 Cents Rugby if you want to support the channel, or potentially a Buy Me a Beer page. So for those of you who support the channel, many thanks. For those of you watching and subscribing, cheers. If you want to listen to a podcast, we talk about Six Nations and Super Rugby. 2 Cents Get Distracted, also known as the 2CGD, on all your podcasting platforms, plus here on YouTube, on this channel, and on the Distracted Sports channel with my co-host Tony. But yeah, cheers, folks. You guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.